Hello everybody, welcome to Gregsbeerreviews today. Let's take a walk and go see what's in the fridge today. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by Greg's Beer Reviews today. We're going to do another Triptych Brewing beer. Yesterday's beer was very unimpressive. I don't know if I had a bad can or what happened there, but I did not like it. This one is AJ Stout. This was sent to me by Steve. He sent me a bunch of beers from this brewery, and the note he has sent me here says AJ Stout is a barrel-aged Imperial Stout aged in a blend of Buffalo Trace and Heaven Hill barrels, both excellent barrels. Comes in at 12.5% according to Steve, ABV, and this one was brewed in 2016. This stout has cocoa, vanilla, and dark fruit flavors. He can't remember exactly what he paid for it, but he believes it was around $15 or $16 for a 4-pack. So this one's been in the can. I don't know what part of the year they do this or release this in, but this is 5.5 of 18, and I'm just going to round it off and say this beer's been in a can 2 years. So, and the ABV is all over the place on these beers. Evidently, every year, every batch is a slightly different ABV. Beer Advocate has it at 10.6%, and Steve's telling me it's 12.5, and Untapped has it for 2016 at 12.7. So, I mean, the numbers are all over the place. That's why I would like to see that on the label, guys. So you don't have to rely on Untapped or Beer Advocate or wherever you get your information from. It's written on the can, and they don't do that. So evidently they're using the same damn label year after year after year after year, so they don't have to print up new ones. That sucks as far as I'm concerned. And it does have the 2016. It says 12/20 of 2016 on here. So maybe they do this in December. So it's not quite 2 years in the can. About a year and a half almost. So let's get on with this one. Final beer of the evening for me. I don't have the IBUs listed for this beer or a commercial description. So that is it. Let's get it on. Big 12-ounce can with a stick-on label. I wish they'd have the ABV on it. It's the only plus I could say. So we're going to pour this in there. While I pour it, I said the food pairing, it says general chocolate dessert digestive. Glassware, pint backer, 9 tumbler snifter. I got my favorite tulip glass. It says here you can sell it for a long period of time, guys. We're going to step it up here and pour it right down the middle. It doesn't look like it's hardly any carbonation at all here, guys. And I will do the back end pour before I go off camera. It doesn't seem to be too carbonated here. It didn't pour hardly any head. It's not even covering the top of the beer here. To the nose we go. Rich roasted malt. Maybe a hint of some toffee or caramel or black molasses. Not getting hardly any bourbon. Maybe a slight hint of some bourbon notes there. I was expecting a little more than that, since they used two excellent bourbon barrel companies to do this with. Maybe they didn't put it in first run barrels. Maybe these barrels had beer in them before. The bourbon notes is definitely not off the chain here, guys. Might be a slight hint of some dark fruit in there. Not getting any big chocolate notes or anything like that. To me, it seemed like this brewery is kind of hit and miss. Some of the beers are pretty damn tasty, and maybe some of them are not. So, we're going to dive in. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Steve. Now, it does have a very pleasant taste. I am getting some bourbon notes on the taste. That does taste very, very good, guys. So don't want to mealy mouth the brewery or anything. Wasn't getting a lot of aroma on the nose, but of course it's right out of the fridge, 40 degrees, so we need to let this one warm up, especially in this style, being a imperial or a double stout. I am getting the bourbon on the taste, guys. Definitely. So before I flap my gums and piss a lot of people off, let me let this one warm up. This is probably a good candidate to let warm up and come up to room temperature. Maybe even fire up a stogie to go with this while I sip on it outside. It's been rather warm the last couple of days, and 90 degrees already here in Virginia. Supposed to cool back down into the 70s for the next week, so I want to have some of those 70s before we get to the 90s. Seemed like this past week it was 38 on Monday night, and then it was 90 Thursday and Friday. So seems like that's the way it is around here. We go from the 30s to the 90s in the spring, and then in the fall we'll go back from the 90s to the 30s. We don't get hardly any 70s. So I'm looking forward to this coming week when it's supposed to be in the 70s all week. Yeah, that'd be nice before it gets too hot. So let me sip on this one and see what we end up with. The taste is better than the aroma, especially when it's cold out of the fridge. So we do need to let this one warm up. Let's see what we end up with, guys. I'll be right back. Alright, guys, I'm back. I've been sipping on about 45 minutes now. Very nice. It's a very nice beer. The bourbon notes are not off the chain like a lot of the barrel-aged versions of these styles of beers are. In the taste, I am getting it now that it's warmed up. Not so much on the nose, slight hint on the nose, but more in the taste. It's there on the taste, guys. If you're expecting big bourbon notes off the chain, you're going to be a little disappointed. This seems more like more of a balance. That's maybe they were going for more of a balance, where the bourbon wasn't overpowering everything else in the beer. I find it very, very tasty. Now that it's come up to room temperature, it's very pleasant to drink. A very nice final beer of the evening, which it is for me. But if they're doing different batches and the ABV changes drastically from batch to batch, like what I am seeing and reading on this beer, they need to put that on there. I want to see that, guys. I want to see, is it a 10.6? Is it a 12.5? A lot of difference there between those two numbers. So I want to see them put that kind of information on. That's the biggest fuss I have about this brewery, of them not putting the ABV on the label. And I understand getting different labels approved is a pain in the ass, but we need to know that. We need to know, are we drinking at 10%? Or are we drinking at 12%? So that's the biggest fuss I have with this brewery. Steve, I appreciate you sending me the beers from this brewery, but not all of them are winners, guy. Some of their beers are very, very tasty, and some of them are not. The one we had yesterday was not. This one is, but the bourbon notes are not off the chain, like especially using two different barrels of a very well known bourbon distillery. So if you're expecting the bourbon to be off the chain, you'll be disappointed, guys. It's there. Now that it's warmed up to room temperature, it's there in the taste, but not so much in the aroma. It's a well-made beer, I will say that. The alcohol is pretty damn well hidden, but it's not something that's brought my hair back or socks off or anything like that. I don't think it's a 10 beer, guys. That's where I'm going with that. So let's do the final chug on this. Smells pretty average. I'm getting a little bit of bourbon notes on the nose, even now that it's warmed up to room temperature. Rich roasted malt, caramel, toffee, maybe a little bit of black molasses. And a slight hint of bourbon notes on the nose. That's what I'm getting right now. Final chug. Final chug. guys, I am getting the bourbon on that. It's a little subdued, but it is there. I don't know how long they left it in the bourbon barrels. Probably not long enough for this guy. And I don't know whether it's a first run bourbon barrel, a barrel that had not had beer in it before. So I've had better. I have had better. I do think it's an A beer, but I don't think it's a 10. So that being said, I'm going to give this an A minus. I'm going to give it a 92. Over to Beer Advocate. Beer Advocate says 4.36. Outstanding is what they have it in their range. It is a very tasty beer. I was expecting more bourbon notes, especially from those two barrels or two distilleries that they've used their barrels from. But the alcohol is very well hidden, guys. But I don't know what the ABV is. Steve's telling me it's 12.5, and the ABV is all over the place on these beers, from 10 to 12. So I wish they would put that on the label so we know what we're buying and what we're drinking. And that's where I'm going to leave this. I'm not going to harp on it forever. And over to Untappd, they say the 2016 is a 12.7. Steve's telling me it's 12.5. So the ABV numbers are all over the freaking place. I want to see that on the label. Put it on the damn label, guys. I'm not sure. If you put the ABV on it and it was available here, I would probably buy it since you have the canned on date on the bottom of it. But without that on there, I probably would not buy this beer. Guys, the ABV is just all over the place on these beers from batch to batch or whenever they do them, year to year. Untappd has it at 4.29. A numbers from those guys. So it's A numbers from Untappd and it's A numbers from Beer Advocate, and that's where I'm going to put it. They did have the date on the bottom of it, but it's not overwhelming with the bourbon notes or anything like that. It's a good beer. It is a good beer. I'm going to give it an A minus, guys. 92 for me. So with that being said, if you've had this one from Triptych Brewing out of Illinois, so let me know what you think. Until we meet again, let's go see what's in the fridge.